have blue eyes tonight. Hey there, it's Granny Mel. Love you guys. We're on Charlotte's Web. This is chapter 3. It's called The Escape. The barn was very large. It was very old, and it smelled of hay, and it smelled of manure. It smelled of the sweat of tired horses and the wonderful sweet breath. Oh, the breath of patient cows. It often had a sort of peaceful smell, as though nothing bad could happen ever again in the world. It smelled of grain and of harness dressing and axle grease and rubber boots and of new rope. And whenever the cat was given a fish head to eat, the barn would smell of fish. But mostly it smelled of hay, for there was always hay in the great loft up overhead. And there was always hay being pitched down to the cows and the horses and the sheep. The barn was pleasantly warm in winter, when the animals spent most of their time indoors, and it was pleasantly cool in summer, with the big doors stood wide open for the breeze. The barn had stalls on the main floor for the work horses and tie-ups on the main floor for the cows, a sheep fold down below for the sheep, a pig pen down below for Wilbur, and it was full of all sorts of things that you find in barns. Ladders and grindstones and pitchforks and monkey wrenches and scythes and lawnmowers, snow shovels and axe handles and milk pails and water buckets, empty grain sacks and rusty rat traps. It was the kind of barn that swallows like to build their nests in. It was the kind of barn that children like to play in. And the whole thing was owned by Fern's uncle, Mr. Homer Zuckerman. Wilbur's new home was in the lower part of the barn directly underneath the cows, and Mr. Zuckerman knew that a manure pile is a good place to keep a young pig. Pigs need warmth, and it was warm and comfortable down there in the barn cellar on the south side. Fern came almost every day to visit him, and she found an old milking stool that had been discarded. She placed the stool in the sheepfold next to Wilbur's pen, and here she sat quietly during the long afternoons, thinking and listening and watching Wilbur. The sheep soon got to know her and trust her. So did the geese who lived with sheep. All the animals trusted her. She was quiet and friendly. Mr. Zuckerman did not allow her to take Wilbur out, and he did not allow her to get into the pig pen. But he told Fern that she could sit on the stool and watch Wilbur as long as she wanted to. And it made her happy just to be near the pig. And it made Wilbur happy just to know that she was sitting right there, right outside his pen. But he never had any fun, no walks or rides or swims. And one afternoon in June, when Wilbur was almost 2 months old, he wandered out into his small yard outside the barn. Fern had not arrived for her usual visit. Wilbur stood in the sun, feeling lonely and bored. There's never anything to do around here, he thought. And he walked slowly to his food trough and sniffed to see if anything had been overlooked at lunch. He found a small strip of potato skin and ate it. His back itched, so he leaned against the boards of the fence and rubbed against the boards. When he tired of this, he walked indoors, climbed to the top of the manure pile, and sat down. He didn't feel like going to sleep. He didn't feel like digging. He was tired of standing still and tired of lying down. "I'm less than 2 months old, and I'm tired of living," he said. And he walked out into the yard again. "When I'm out here, there's no place to go but in, and when I'm in, there's no place to go but out." "That's where you're wrong, my friend, my friend, my friend," said a voice. Wilbur looked through the fence and saw the goose standing there. "You don't have to stay in that dirty little dirty little yard," said the goose, who talked rather fast. "One of the boards is loose. Push on it. Push, 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 and come on out." "What?" said Wilbur. "Say it slower." At the risk of repeating myself," said the goose, "I suggest you come on out. It's wonderful out here." "Did you say a board is loose?" That I did," said the goose. Wilbur walked up to the fence and saw that the goose was right. One board was loose. He put his head down, shut his eyes, and pushed. And the board gave way, and in a minute he had squeezed through the fence and was standing in the long grass outside of his yard. The goose chuckled. "How does it feel to be free?" she asked. "I like it," Wilbur said. I guess I like it. Actually, Wilbur felt queer to be outside of his fence with nothing between him and the world. "Where do you think I better go?" Anywhere you like to go," said the goose. "Go down through the orchard, root up the sod. Go down to the garden and dig up the radishes. Root up everything, eat grass. Look for corn. Look for oats, run all over, skip and dance and jump and prance. And go down to the orchard and stroll in the woods. The world is a wonderful place when you're young." "I can see that," replied Wilbur. He gave a jump in the air and twirled and ran a few steps and stopped and looked all around and sniffed the smells of the afternoon and then set off walking down towards the orchard. Pausing in the shade of an apple tree, he put his strong snout into the ground and began pushing, digging, and rooting. He felt very happy. He had plowed up quite a piece of ground before anyone noticed him. Mrs. Zuckerman was the first to see him, and she saw him from the kitchen window, and she immediately shouted for the men. "Homer! Pigs out! Lurvy, pigs out! Homer, Lurvy, pigs out! Down under that apple tree!" "Now the trouble starts," thought Wilbur. "Now I'll catch it." The goose heard the racket too, and she too started hollering, "Run, run, run, downhill, make for the woods, she shouted to Wilbur. "They'll never catch you in the woods." The Cocker Spaniel heard the commotion, and he ran out from the barn to join the chase. Mr. Zuckerman heard, and he came out of the machine shed where he was mending a tool, and Lurvy the hired man heard the noise and came up from the asparagus patch where he was pulling weeds. And everybody walked toward Wilbur, and Wilbur didn't know what to do. The woods seemed like a long way off, and anyway, he had never been down there in the woods, and he wasn't sure he would like it. "Get around behind him, Lurvy," said Mr. Zuckerman, "and drive him toward the barn. Take it easy, don't rush him. I'll go get a bucket of slops." The news of Wilbur's escape spread rapidly among the animals on the place. Whenever any creature broke loose on Zuckerman's farm, the event was of great interest to the others. The goose shouted to the nearest cow that Wilbur was free, and soon all the cows knew. Then one of the cows told one of the sheep, and soon all the sheep knew. The lambs learned about it from their mothers. The horses in their stalls in the barn pricked up their ears when they heard the goose hollering, and soon the horses had caught on to what was happening. "Wilbur's out," they said. Every animal stirred and lifted its head and became excited to know that one of its friends had got free and was no longer pinned up or tied. Wilbur didn't know what to do or which way to run, and it seemed as though everybody was after him. "If this is what it's like to be free, I'd rather be pinned up in my own yard," he said. The Cocker Spaniel was sneaking up on him from one side. Lurvy, the hired man, was sneaking up on him from the other side, and Mrs. Zuckerman stood ready to head him off if he started for the garden. And now Mr. Zuckerman was coming toward him carrying a pail. "This is awful," thought Wilbur. "Why doesn't Fern come?" He began to cry. The goose took command and began to give orders. "Don't just stand there, Wilbur. Dodge about. Skip around. Run toward me. Slip in and out. In and out. In and out. Make for the woods." The Cocker Spaniel sprang for Wilbur's hind leg. Wilbur jumped and ran. Lurvy reached out and grabbed. Mrs. Zuckerman screamed at Lurvy. The goose cheered for Wilbur. Wilbur dodged between Lurvy's legs. Lurvy missed Wilbur and grabbed the spaniel instead. Nicely done, said the goose. Try it again. Run downhill, suggested the cows. Run toward me, yelled the gander. Run uphill, said the sheep. Turn and twist, honked the goose. Jump and dance, said the rooster. Look out for Lurvy, called the cows. Look out for Zuckerman, yelled the gander. Watch the dog, cried the sheep. Listen to me, cried the goose. Poor Wilbur was dazed and frightened by this hullabaloo, and he didn't like being the center of all this fuss. He tried to follow the instructions of his friends, but he couldn't run downhill and uphill at the same time, and he couldn't turn and twist when he was jumping and dancing, and he was crying so hard he could barely see anything that was happening. After all, Wilbur was a very young pig, and not much more than a baby, really. He wished Fern were there to take him in her arms. And when he looked up and saw Mr. Zuckerman standing quite close to him, holding a pail of warm slops, he felt relieved. He lifted his nose and sniffed, and the smell was delicious. Warm milk and potato skins and wheat middlings, Kellogg's cornflakes, and a popover left from the Zuckerman's breakfast. "Come, Pig," said Mr. Zuckerman, tapping the pail. "Come, Pig." Wilbur took a step toward the pail. "No, no, no," said the goose. "It's the old pail trick, Wilbur. Don't fall. Don't fall for it. He's trying to lure you back to captivity. Ivity. He's appealing to your stomach." Wilbur didn't care. The food smelled appetizing. He took another step toward the pail. "Pig, Pig," said Mr. Zuckerman in a kind voice, and began walking slowly toward the barnyard, looking all around him innocently, as if he didn't know that a little white pig was following along behind him. "You'll be sorry, sorry, sorry," said the goose. Wilbur didn't care. He kept walking toward the pail of slops. "You'll miss your freedom," honked the goose. "An hour of freedom is worth a barrel of slops." Wilbur didn't care. When Mr. Zuckerman reached the pig pen, he climbed over the fence and poured the slops into the trough. Then he pulled the loose board away from the fence so that there was a wide hole for Wilbur to walk through. "Reconsider, reconsider," said the goose. Wilbur paid no attention. He stepped through the fence into his yard, and he walked to the trough and took a long drink of slops, sucking the milk hungrily and chewing the popover. It was good to be home again. While Wilbur ate, Lurvy fetched a hammer and some 8-penny nails and nailed the board in place. And then he and Mr. Zuckerman leaned lazily on the fence, and Mr. Zuckerman scratched Wilbur's back with a stick. "He's quite a pig," said Lurvy. "Yes, he'll make a good pig," said Mr. Zuckerman. Wilbur heard the words of praise, and he felt the warm milk in his stomach, and he felt the pleasant rubbing of the stick along his itchy back, and he felt peaceful and happy and sleepy. This had been a tiring afternoon. It was still only about 4 o'clock, but Wilbur was ready for bed. "I'm really too young to go into the world alone," he thought, as he lay down. That's the end of chapter 3.